Okay, so obviously here's the center eligible. The way I got the diagram here, I know it's wrong because one of the HZs or Fs has to be on the line, that we have 7 on the line to make it work. And then that center would have to have an eligible number. So this is the stupid formation. So you can run a center eligible to the center because he is the last man on the line of scrimmage. You can do the same thing out of, this is another weird formation. I just call it over stupid. And you got the backs to one side and then the center is eligible. Obviously, we can't have all 3 on the, we have to have one of them over on the line to make 7 on the line. So this diagram is technically wrong. One of the, you'd have 2 out here and then the back over here to get the 7 on the line. And then out of the swinging gate, obviously this is an easy one. The center is eligible and he can go out as long as he has an eligible number and you can throw him the pass. But it's just messing with them with different formations and then, still throwing the different eligibles out on it. All right, so I like to let the kids make up their own plays. You always, when you're, you give the kids, hey, they'll come up to you and like, well, coach, we could do this, this, and this. And they'll give you partial of how a play will work. And they'll give you some type of scheme thing. So I always told the kids, come up with your own trick plays. Make something up. But the only rule is you got to teach it to the entire team. And you let them, you just say, the kid comes to you and they need to bring me a diagram. They've got to explain it to me. And then once I'm happy that they can teach to the team, I give them, here we go, so-and-so came up with this play. And you won't, they'll come up with some of the craziest stuff that you never thought about. I had contests with, parents. And the guys that come up with the wildest stuff are these old dudes who played back like in the 1940s. I remember one contest, and this was when I was going to Long Beach State, and they had a football team. They one of the old guys came up with a play, and he basically, the way the play worked is they would run a play, anything they were running, but the whole time the quarterback would play this game. So they would run a play, and then the quarterback would start screaming at the refs, this guy's offside, he's offsides. And even though he wasn't, and then he'd do it again. No, he's offsides. And he'd scream at the white hat, hey, you guys got to watch this. This guy's offsides. And then the third time he would go, he's offsides. You guys aren't going to do anything. I'm going to do something about this. And so he would walk up there, the line, everybody would be dead set. And then the center would hand the ball over his shoulder to the quarterback, who then would take the ball and start marching off 5 yards like he was doing a penalty. Then obviously he would, when he got to about the third step, he'd take off and run. There's another play out there called the Ugly Kardashians, which is similar, where they hand the kid the ball and he's like, coach, this is the wrong ball. And he walks to the sideline and then takes off down the sideline. I know a couple of those plays got outlawed because of the way the snap is, because there's definite rules on the way you could snap the ball. But like the play where he walked off the running, or even, coach, this is the wrong ball. If the center hikes it between his legs normally, and then the kid, plays it off, those plays are legal. The thing I'm not liking about some refs is they're starting to use a rule that has nothing to do with these trick plays of, any play that is to deceive the defense is illegal. When these plays aren't, in that rules of deceiving the defense, that's part of, having trick plays. I don't see the difference of somebody running this and somebody running, a reverse double pass. I'm still deceiving the defense, but just depends. Sometimes refs they get into that mode and they use that. But one of the plays that my kids came up with is they came up with LeapFrog. So the way the story happened on LeapFrog, we were at our passing league games over the summer, and we ran a 4-wide, and a lot of times we just used our concepts to one side, and then the back side had whatever they wanted to do. And they would, the rule was always, when you're the back side, you're going to do something like to basically test the defense. So, run some type of combo together and see, what the defense, how they react to it. Or if you're like a single receiver, use that as a time to run a double move on him to see how he's going to work. Just some type of thing. A lot of times also during the game, we would put somebody on the backside and give them a dead route, which is basically rest. Because being a small school, a lot of times we have a lot of kids that are going both ways, especially sometimes your best receiver, he's doing everything on offense and everything on defense, and you need to rest him. And a lot of times with my best receiver, they double covered him. So I would just give him a dead route and say, just go stand out there and do nothing. So the kids were used to basically knowing that if they weren't part of the concept, they had a freebie. So I had these 2 young receivers, and they would go, "Coach, what do we do?" Even though they knew the rules of what they were supposed to do. And I go, "I don't frigging care." And then they ask again, I go, "Do push-ups. I don't care. Do something." So they started playing LeapFrog. So they decided that, hey, we can run LeapFrog and just basically run a quick now screen. And so X goes down on all fours, H does LeapFrog over the top of him, and then goes out and blocks, and then X stands up and the quarterback throws him the ball. And it all times up perfect. And that was something they came up with, and they said, "Hey, coach, we want to run LeapFrog." And so homecoming, we ran LeapFrog. And then I put the video on YouTube, and then, talk about it on Twitter. Every time I do this LeapFrog, I always tag them, because these guys are, 30 something years old now and have kids. And this is their claim to fame, that they came up with LeapFrog. Same thing with other plays too. They come up with names. These same kids that made LeapFrog also named our quarterback throwback play Fish Sandwich. So the reason they called it Fish Sandwich, because that was back in the early 2000s when the Ladies Man, I don't know if you're that older to remember, the Ladies Man with Tim Meadows was a big movie, and his pickup line as the Ladies Man is he told the lady that he would like, he'd walk up to her and he goes, "I'd like to buy you a fish sandwich." And the kids thought that was great, so they named the play Fish Sandwich, and so the name stuck. But basically, yeah, any of the plays that we run, we let them name them. If they don't have a name, obviously we'll call something. But if you give them the opportunity to name something, it's their play. Also, the defense has no clue of what you're talking about. When I'm yelling Fish Sandwich, unless they've heard us either by scouting because they were at the game and heard us yell Fish Sandwich, or any to the effect, they have no clue what it is. So if those things really happen, and it makes it more personal for your team.